Did you need help with a wizard build that's actually really good for both damage as well as CC and even some fun RP elements for Baldur's Gate 3? Then I got the build for you. What's up, bros? We're back in the video and we're checking out all things Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, so this is my first build guide for Baldur's Gate 3, and I've been playing Wizard quite a lot. I have about 22 hours clocked on one of my Wizards. I've also set up another class and kind of refined some of the abilities that I took on my previous class to now take some new abilities that I've kind of decided that weren't really useful, kind of didn't want to utilize them, and some regrets that I made through leveling to get to level 5. So we'll start off with a new character. We'll make an entirely new game. We'll start off at the main menu. We'll go through all the character creation there. We'll go through some of the elements that you can choose with that, and then we'll move on to the actual build, and I'll showcase some footage from my other wizard as well as the new one. Okay, so let's just jump into it. Okay, so obviously we don't have to worry about race too much. Now, these do have a lot of, base stats that you might want to look for. But however, this is honestly completely up to player choice, whether for RP elements or any other thing like that. If you want to go for the most optimal quote-unquote build, then you're probably going to want to go for Gnome because of the +2 int, some of the Gnome racials. And for me, I actually really did like going deep Gnome, so that's what I am going to go for now, is just a deep Gnome. The base racial is really good. The intelligence, the +2 intelligence is really going to help out. We got superior dark vision, stone camouflage on stealth checks, and we even have +1 dexterity. So I'm gonna go with deep gnome. This is kind of like my choice here. I liked the backstory of it, and I also liked a few of the other elements on the sub-racials as well as the RP elements and conversation. But again, that's completely up to you. Now jumping in, obviously we go wizard, and we're gonna go into our cantrips, and we're gonna redo all of these. Now, there is a ton of scrolls in the first section, and I'll show you kind of where those are located after we do this start of build. I'll show you stuff that we can skip for now. We can skip Fireball. There's a scroll there. So for now, we are going to take Ray of Frost. We are going to take Shocking Grasp. And this last one, we have a few options here, right? We can go into Minor Illusion. We can go into things like that. Chill Touch, I hear, is okay, but it kind of gets underutilized. We'll probably go Acid Splash later, but we're not going to use it for now. We're also not going to use Poison Spray. In my opinion, you're really going to just be using these two cantrips, and then I'm also going to go with the Friends ability. This helps with some RP stuff, and since there isn't really anything else to go, and we get a free Fireball scroll, I'm going to take that one. We don't need light. Our character can see in the dark, so if you do need to see in the dark or have trouble, you can take light here. And you can take, for evocation. Although we are going to go abjuration, so that at least for this build, or at least my decision on that. So evocation, we don't really necessarily need too much. And then mage hand isn't really that good either. Other classes have it. There are multiple other companions will have it, so you don't really need to utilize this. So these are my three. Again, these two right here are really good. Shocking Grasp is great when enemies are up close to you, and as well as Ray of Frost, which even provides that movement speed debuff. Moving on to our spells here, we're going to redo everything here, take all this off. I like to go Grease right away. Grease is a great spell. It's incredible for CC. You'll see it does a lot of little AOE, and you can even light it on fire for some nice damage. We aren't going to go Mage Armor because we can get that in the first room. We're going to go Magic Missile, and then we are going to go Tedious Laughter. That's going to give us some nice CC stuff there. We are going to go Feather Fall, as this is a skill that you cannot get in the game, or at least you cannot get from one of these scrolls on the ground, so we'll take that for now. We are also going to go Thunder Wave, and this is a controversial one. You can go Sleep, however, I'm going to go Sleep at level 2, or you could swap these out here. There's a few other ones that you could take for this. People like to take Burning Hands. I don't like to have my mage or wizard in melee range at all, and I found myself not using Burning Hands, and when I did, I was damaging my teammates. Now, however, if you do take Evocation, and you want to go Evocation for level 2, which we'll talk about in a minute, then you can take Burning Hands, although I really just didn't find this to be that good, and I really don't want to be in melee range. It only has a 5-meter radius, and I want to be more in the back. So for me, I really did enjoy the Find Familiar, and the reason being is because you cannot get this scroll in the game. It's going to provide some nice CC stuff you'll see there. It's a nice little level 1 spell for now, and I really don't think we need 2 CCs other than the Hideous Laughter. Sleep, I really don't think we're going to need until the next level, so we're not going to take that for now. We're going to go with Find Familiar. I tried things like Fog Cloud, but honestly, I was finding that the enemies just moved out of it and then could attack anyways. so I didn't find it very useful and kind of almost hindered other abilities. So I'm going to go find familiar, which I think is a really good pick. And if not, if anything, we have this scroll now, because from all the things that I found, you cannot get find familiar, so we're going to take that for now. You can also take sleep if you want to instead of find familiar. But this is nice. We can't summon an imp like a warlock, but it's still good for now. Oh, and for my background, I am going to go sage, but this one is more like up to you. As on stuff here, I'm going to take insight and investigation. Again, this is all up to you. This is more RP stuff, but I do think this helps out a lot with a lot of the stuff when you're doing the communication. And that goes on my next point, that we're going to leave everything here. We are going to go 12 charisma because this is going to be my main character that's talking. We're going to leave this at 17 for right now, which is really good. Again, this is just going to be my main character for doing all the conversations and stuff, so I do want to have that charisma high. However, you could knock off charisma if you're not going to use this as your main character, put it in wisdom. You could maybe even go into strength if you wanted more armor. However, for now, we are going to leave it like this. Now, I'm going to go to some scroll locations that you can get right off level 1. This is where you start, and hopefully everything like this will be the same once the patch starts. I also do want to credit a YouTuber. I'm going to have him down below. And he is a really small YouTuber, so I do want to make sure that I credit him. It's Casual Veteran Gamer, but I'm going to have links to everything down below. If you want to check out his guide too, it's actually really useful, and I learned all the spell stuff from him, or where to find these spell scrolls, but we're just going to come up this way really easily, and you can also compare and contrast our builds. We'll go up here, and we're going to jump again here, and then just in this body, we're going to loot character, and you'll see that we have Scroll of Mage Armor. That's why we didn't need to take it. So no big deal. Now, if you do take some damage or fire damage here, or even damage here, you'll probably take 1, I think it is. Oh, somehow we didn't take any damage there. Normally you do, but there's a restoration thing right there. We can easily hit that and get the health. Moving on up here, again, a very easy location to get to. We're going to come here, get to this scroll, and it's going to be Scroll of Firebolt. Again, that's why we don't want to take it. We're going to head right up here. Super simple spot. And we're going to head over to this chest here. And sometimes there will be a scroll in here, sometimes there won't be. No scroll, but we do get a ton of gold, which we can use to actually learn those spells if we want to. Especially Mage Armor. It's probably going to be one that you're going to want to use. We'll go ahead and use that right away so that we can have Mage Armor, because we're more than likely going to be using that quite a bit, as it is an aberration spell, and that's what we're going to use for level 2. Now, for our first level here, technically we're getting to level 2. We are going to go and jump into here. Now, I did accidentally take on the original kind of playthrough when I was doing this, or when I was leveling this up, I did take Disguise Self instead of Find Familiar. We're just going to take that for the second round here. Now, you don't have to take this ability. It's not really like that utilized. The reason why I'm taking it is more for RP stuff, and it's because you can't find this spell in the open world, at least from all that I've read up. When we do jump into here, though, for our level 2, we are going to go into Aberration. We'll come down here. Again, we aren't going to take the Find Familiar, but since I took it the first level, you could just take Disguise Stealth in its place. And then for here, we are going to take Sleep. It is kind of majorly utilized. We already have Mage Armor, as we just learned it. Again, nothing else is really utilized here. Jump and Long Strider, they are kind of taken, they're not able to be found, rather. Same with Expedition Retreat, but that's really not good at all. Chromatic Orb, there is a scroll location for that, which I'll showcase in a second, that we can get to, and it honestly isn't really utilized right now, so we might as well just use the scroll that we get anyways and not waste the ability take. So I'm going to take Sleep, really, really good here, and I'm going to take Find Familiar, although we took it the first level, but just take Disguise Self if you want to take the RP stuff. If you don't want to take either of those, you don't want to take Find Familiar, you can go ahead and take Burning Hands, although I wouldn't recommend it, or even maybe Color Spray. There are a few options there, or even Charm Person. So jumping back here really, really quickly, I did loot the scrolls here, but when you come into the room, when you meet Shadowheart, which should be like right over here, when you come down here into this little section, you'll be able to grab scrolls right here on this little table here in this little section. It's going to be the False Life spell and the Chromatic Orb, so that way you won't need to waste or use those on the level up there. Now, for prepared spells, I'm probably going to do something like this. However, you could also do Sleep in here if you wanted more CC. I'll have the Feigned or Familiar for now to be kind of utilized. If it doesn't really play out well, then I'll probably switch out for Sleep. However, again, I haven't done too much experimentation with the Find Familiar, but I really do think this is going to play out a lot better than some of the other spells, especially because this does provide a lot of CC stuff. And if you'll check here, once we actually level up and take it, you'll see we have a bunch of different stuff here. We can't summon an imp, but we can summon a lot of stuff here, things that distract. There's different
blood toxins, all this stuff. They add blindness. I'm probably going to use this one. This is going to blind enemies for 1 turn so they can't even attack you. Again, really good for CC control, and that's honestly what a wizard's main job is a lot of CC control, still having those damage abilities, but allowing the CC for your other allies rather, to do a lot of damage, especially when you get Weil, who's a nice little warlock. Now moving up to level 3, we'll go here. We're going to go in here and kind of check out some stuff. We are going to take Cloud of Daggers. It honestly is basically a must. It does so much damage. It's really good at target focused AoE. There is another AoE spell that you can take, which is Shatter. However, I found this one to not be that good. It doesn't stick around and kind of just use it one time, and I'd rather use Glyph of Warding once we get that in the later levels, so we're not going to utilize that for now. Misty Steps is something that you can get easily, and we'll probably save out our next level for some of this other stuff. Honestly, in my opinion, I do really think that the best spell here is Scorching Ray. I loved this spell on my Warlock, and I regret not taking it for my Wizard, so I'm going to take it this time around. It does a lot of damage. It has a lot of target focus out there. I think even when it gets upgraded, you can do up to 4 projectiles. It's really good, so we have a nice AoE spell here, and then a nice single target damage spell. We really don't need any more kind of CC or anything like that for right now. You could take Mirror Image. This is something that you can take if you wanted to instead of Scorching Ray. You could take Mirror's Image. However, I do think you can actually get a scroll for it as well, so we're not going to take it for now, and it's going to be underutilized. Coming down here, we'll go ahead and swap out Disguise. We'll put on this, and I'm probably going to either drop Sleep, or I'm probably going to drop Thunder Wave for now and put on Scorching Ray. That way we at least have the 1 CC or the 2 CCs here, and we're probably not going to use Thunder Wave that much, as enemies kind of getting close to you and you don't want to damage your teammates, so we probably won't use that as much, but it will be filtered in on and off. Now, I might even swap out here for the Find Familiar as well, since I'll probably just use the 1 CC. This is kind of more my ideal setup for this level. Moving on to level 4, this is our main cantrip that we're really going to want, is the Acid Splash. This has some really cool gear stuff that I'll showcase at the end of this video. There's some like Acid Splash gear that you can get that adds damage to it essentially, but this is a nice AoE free casted spell. It's going to provide a decent damage, not a crazy ton of damage, but it's an AoE spell and it's a free cast. Moving on here, we can get Misty Steps in a scroll, I believe. We can also get Detect Thought from Shadowheart. I'll showcase that in a second. And other than that, we'll probably take Mirror Image, if not, or at least we'll take Crown of Madness and then Magic Weapon, as these 2 abilities are not going to be found in scrolls. Magic Weapon especially. Crown of Madness might be able to. We're probably not going to use Crown of Madness. We could go into Enlarge and Reduce, although I'm not too sure how that's going to play that well. We could also go into, again, we could take Shatter if we really wanted to. Some of this other stuff is really underutilized. You're really not going to use it. Misty Step is going to be great for us. That's kind of why we're not going to take Jump or these long striders, is because Misty Step just allows us to like teleport to like a bunch of locations, and it's just as far, and it's better because we're typically not going to take any fall damage. Although I did like that Feather Fall because it does it for all your allies in an area, so if they all need to jump to a certain section, they all can. Misty Step I think is way better than both of those, so we'll wait out till we can get a scroll for Misty Step. I got one in my last playthrough. Probably should get one pretty early on. There are a few other options here. You could take Enlarge and Reduce instead of Crown of Madness. You also could maybe take Hold Person, but again, it's a humanoid creature, which also is technically Crown of Madness. You could also take Blur. Blur is another kind of good CC one that might be utilized more than Crown of Madness. However, if they do, and I know Crown of Madness was kind of buggy, so for now it might not be a good choice. If it is still buggy on release, who knows? Apparently it doesn't work very well with the crowd control. This is one that I didn't take through my main playthrough. However, I do kind of regret not trying it or not experimenting with it too much, but I do think this is going to be a play. If not, it's either going to be Mirror Image or Blur for the CC, or maybe even Enlarge and Reduce. Nice little CC there. We definitely do want Magic Weapon, as we're probably not going to see it in a scroll, and it can be utilized, although I'm probably not going to utilize it for now. And then for our prep work, we'll have the same little setup here. We'll probably get rid of Sleep again, or keep Sleep, and then get rid of Thunder Wave and put Find Familiar back up there. Now finally, going up to level 5, our first ability, Fireball. This is just too good. We can't not take it. We're going to get rid of Vampiric Touch. Not a good ability, and we're going to go ahead and take Counterspell. Glyph of Warding you probably should be able to find. You could also take Haste. However, I found out that Counterspell is actually pretty good. I found myself... that one video that I watched that I said that kind of helped me figure out the spells and stuff like that. He said that you wouldn't really use or couldn't find a place that used the Counterspell. I took it right away, and I think I had like 2 or 3 enemies that allowed me to use Counterspell within like my first 2 or 3 fights. I really enjoyed it. I think it's it's a reaction spell. It's great. So we're going to take it for now and take Fireball. It's also Fly, but we're not going to really use Fly if we have Teleport. Could, in place of Counterspell, you could take Haste. Again, it's another really good one. I think Sticking Cloud might be okay. Protection Energy is not that good. Hypnotic Pattern will be really good. Animate Unalive is also really good. Feign Unalive, not very good. Fear might be okay, but if you're doing AOE, you kind of don't want to fear mobs in my opinion, although it's a nice little CC for everybody, although you get that with Sleep too. So that goes there. We're going to take these 2 off again, and we're going to go ahead and throw these 2 on for our prepared spells. This is going to offer us nice CC, nice single target damage. We're going to have a counter spell, more single target damage, more AoE, and also familiar that provides us with even more CC. So I should about cover it for up to level 5 with all the abilities and kind of my prepared spells and all that. I'm going to jump over to my main character that I kind of don't have all these spells on because I picked a bunch of different ones. Like I said, I kind of regret doing different things. But we're going to jump over to the main character. I'm going to show you the gear and stuff that I've been using on that, as well as some of the stuff that you can find. Scroll spot that you can potentially find at level 3 scroll in, which I found Hypnotic, which was pretty good. Okay, so jumping on my main here, you'll notice a few different abilities, but nothing crazy. We have the Glyph of Warding, of course, which is really, really good. I know I got the scroll for that. I ended up purchasing it or had it. I have a ton here that I still haven't purchased or gone through, even though I have the gold for it, but I just haven't gone around to get to it. There's some stuff here that we could take. I think we already have Sleep, or maybe I didn't take... Oh yeah, we do have Sleep. Again, I got that Hypnotic Pattern. I'm going to show you where I found that level 3 scroll. There is a few other locations, but I haven't finished out the Underdark yet. I'm still working on here and probably going to work on this more today. This is basically as far as I've gotten so far. This is my 21-hour save. However, there is a spot that we can go to. I believe it's this one. Yep. Right over here, so right from the spot that we spawn in, right over here, and yeah, the chest is still here. That's kind of cool. But basically, you need a shovel. Find it. But yeah, I had a shovel on one of my here. There it is. So yeah, you need a shovel for this. Basically, you can dig here. There's a perception check. However, you don't need to pass it. In fact, my character didn't even pass. You just go up and dig up the chest here. Nothing in here, but that's what you'll get the scroll from, is in this chest here. And there are a few other spots in the Underdark, but I haven't got to. I'll link down to that Casual Veteran Gamer, his video, because it does actually showcase some really cool scroll spots. There's 2 additional ones in the Underdark. I just didn't get to it yet. It's taking me a little bit longer than I wanted to. However, maybe I could showcase that near release, and maybe I'll get closer to that. But I do want to showcase the gear really, really quickly, as we do have some cool stuff here with the Acid Splash stuff. So as you see here, we have this chest piece, Poisoner's Robe. Can't remember quietly where I got this. I'll look it up to see if I can find like a location on the wiki and post it down below. But when the wearer casts a spell that deals poison damage, it deals in addition 1d4 poison. It's not that much, but for a spell that costs nothing, and once you hit level 5, this does double for his dice roll. It actually isn't that bad. So you'll hit for like, you know, maybe 6 or 7 on this, and then you'll also hit for another 4. It can be pretty good, and it adds up on damage, especially for AoE stuff, and I do really like that. So there is some stuff there. There's like some electric wizard ability, the Witch Bolt, which I actually found a scroll for. But the Witch Bolt, this will allow you to kind of do damage if the enemies are essentially electrified, and you can get gear that essentially will electrify you right here. When the wearer stands in water during combat, it becomes electrified. So you can even use, you know, Shadow Heart to cast water, but you can essentially create water around, and then the area will be electrified by those boots, which is pretty cool. A little cool mechanic to kind of play around with there. That could be kind of cool for us, doing some electric damage with that, so it might play out better with some stuff. You know, we are limited to level 5, and I can only do so much testing in these last few days, especially just getting the game and kind of going through. So this is kind of my play style, or my build overall. I do think it's actually really good. It was really fun to play as, other than the few small changes that I made. Some abilities that I regret not taking, some AoE stuff, and some single target stuff that I really do think is going to help out with damage, as well as that Find Familiar that's going to provide that nice CC. But that should about cover for today's video and this build guide. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe, and until the next one, deuce.